What'd he say his name was? Gebatron.
Make sure to check the pinned comment, as that is where I'll put any changes or updates if you are watching this in the future. No funny intros or anything like that for this one. There's a lot to cover, so let's go and we'll bust a ton of myths along the way. Resources help your commander and team by giving them more options and flexibility when it comes to the strategies and tactics that can be employed. There are 3 resources in Hell Let Loose: munitions, manpower, and fuel. We can find these resources by bringing up the map where they are listed across the top. We can see the symbol representing the resource, followed by how much of that resource we currently have, then followed by our gain per minute. For example, here we have 710 munitions and are gaining plus 30 per minute. In warfare and offensive mode, this plus 30 per minute occurs automatically and is usually referred to as the base resource gain. In the new skirmish mode, this base resource gain is effectively plus 50 per minute, as there are 2 sets of nodes built by default at the start of the match. In all 3 game modes, this base gain can be increased by building nodes, but we'll cover how those work later in the video. You can also find this information at the top of the team screen, accessed by hitting the tab key by default on PC. How are these resources used and what depletes them? Before talking about the specific resources, let's cover a little known mechanic that affects all the resources equally, and that's capturing or losing territory. A team that captures enemy territory will gain an instant plus 50 for all 3 resource types, while a team that loses territory will instantly have all 3 depleted by 50. This is true for all 3 game modes. Note that you will gain plus 50 resources when neutral territory is captured. However, the team that did not capture it will not lose 50 resources since they did not control it to begin with. Now let's talk about manpower. Manpower is used for commander orders. I cover how these commander orders work in this playlist at the top right, so we won't cover them here. What else? Manpower is depleted by 1 every time a friendly soldier dies, regardless of role. Not when they are incapacitated, not when they spawn, but when they are sent to the killed in action screen. So headshots, explosions, letting go, redeployment, and even team kills. Manpower is also depleted by 30 every time a friendly garrison is dismantled or destroyed by the enemy, or when they are destroyed by losing territory. This includes the new forward positions in skirmish mode matches, as well as the default garrisons in offensive mode matches. Speaking of skirmish and offensive, manpower can also be consumed in these game modes when certain conditions are met to force overtime. If the attacking team is capturing territory when time runs out, then manpower will begin to be consumed at a rate of 5 per second until either it is exhausted, resulting in a loss for the attackers, or either team gains full control. Learn more details about how overtime works by watching the video at the top right. There is no overtime in warfare mode. What doesn't manpower do? Other than when overtime conditions are met, running out of manpower will not result in a defeat. Running low or out of manpower does not affect spawn times, nor does it affect which spawns can be used. It does not affect which roles are available, and it does not affect the cooldown times of the support role supply box. Using supplies or refilling supplies in the supply truck at an HQ does not consume manpower. Losing an outpost does not deplete manpower. Running low or out of manpower will only affect the ability of the commander to call in the appropriate orders, or the team's ability to force overtime in skirmish and offensive modes. Post any questions you have in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Moving on to munitions. Munitions are also used for various commander orders, again covered in this playlist. Additionally, munitions are used by artillery guns. Each high explosive round costs your team 3 munitions, and every smoke shell costs 5 munitions. Rounds from the buildable anti-tank guns also cost 5 munitions apiece. The munitions resource is consumed upon loading the round and not when firing them. Running low or out of munitions will affect which orders are available to the commander. Running out of munitions will mean artillery and AT guns will not be able to load more rounds until more of the resource is accumulated. Running out of munitions does not affect which weapons or loadouts are available to players. It does not affect players' ammo counts. It does does not affect the availability or cooldown times of the ammo boxes, nor does it affect how you interact with these boxes. It also does not affect how much ammo armor spawns in with, nor the ability of armor to resupply at HQ cranes. Trust me, I've heard it all. Again, feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Finally, fuel. Fuel is used for commander orders and to spawn in armor and light vehicles, and so far, that's it. At the time of making this video, fuel is not depleted by the auto spawn vehicles. If there is no fuel or fuel is low, then the commander will be limited as to what vehicles they can spawn in, if they can spawn in any at all. However, auto spawn vehicles will still be able to spawn in. Armor and light vehicles do not consume fuel as they drive around. Running out of fuel or low on fuel does not affect the speed of vehicles or their ability to resupply ammunition at the HQ cranes or their ability to repair. Put any questions in the comments. Okay, so now that we know all about resources, we understand how important they are for your team. Being low on resources can lead to limited options for support, whether that comes from commander orders or artillery or whatever. In order to maximize our options on the battlefield, we are going to want to increase our resource gain per minute, and that's exactly what nodes do. There is a node for each resource type, so a manpower node, a munitions node, and a fuel node. Each individual node generates plus 10 per minute of its corresponding resource. So if we build a manpower node, it will add plus 10 to our plus 30 per minute base gain, bringing our manpower resource gain up to plus 40 per minute. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Who can build nodes? Only engineers that have wrenches in their loadout can build nodes. For example, the German standard engineer loadout has a wrench, but their pioneer loadout loses it and will not be able to build nodes. Some other factions have an additional engineer loadout called field engineer, where they will get the wrench back. So if you want to build nodes, make sure you are an engineer with the appropriate loadout. Where can you build them? Nodes can be built in any friendly territory, whether it's locked or unlocked. Resource gain of the nodes does not change the further into the map they are placed. Nodes gain plus 10 per minute no matter where they are within friendly territory. Nodes cannot be built in neutral territory or enemy territory, regardless if it's locked or unlocked. How many nodes can be built? In warfare and offensive modes, an individual engineer can build 3 nodes total, 1 of each type. For example, an engineer cannot build 2 manpower nodes, but can only build 1 manpower, 1 munitions, and 1 fuel node. The team as a whole is allowed 3 total sets of nodes, so a maximum of 3 manpower, 3 munition, and 3 fuel. You will need a minimum of 3 engineers to build the maximum amount of nodes, but any engineer can build a node as long as that team limit is not met. If the enemy destroys a node that Engineer A built, Engineer B can build a new one. It does not have to be Engineer A that rebuilds it. It is typical that engineers will build all 3 of their nodes, but it is not uncommon to have more than 3 engineers building nodes in matches. Additionally, these engineers do not have to be in separate squads. While you can only have 1 engineer in a squad at a time, these limits are calculated per player and per team, not by squad. So with some role swapping, members of a single squad can build multiple sets of nodes. Skirmish mode matches work a little differently. Since there are already 2 sets of nodes built by default at match start, only 1 set of nodes is able to be built, so you only need 1 engineer to build nodes in skirmish mode. All other rules are the same. How do you build nodes? Nodes are built in 2 stages. First, we must place a blueprint. As an engineer, equip your wrench, hold the right mouse button to bring up the building menu, then scroll to the node you wish to place. You can change the orientation of the node with the Q and E keys. To place the blueprint, which is actually green, hold the left mouse button. This blueprint will automatically dismantle after 3 minutes if no further action is taken. This blueprint does count towards your team's total node count. You are currently unable to remove this blueprint manually, so make sure it's right where you want it before placing it. You'll notice above our blueprint it reads +0 per minute. It says the same if we hover over the node on the map. To actually construct the node, we are going to need to switch to our hammer, but if we try to hammer on our blueprint, we'll get a message that reads "Not enough supplies." Each individual node requires 50 supplies to be built, and those supplies must be within 50 meters of our blueprint. An easy way to know if you are within 50 meters of supplies is to bring up your HUD. This can be done by hitting the T key by default on PC. And if you see the supplies icon, then you are within 50 meters. Once you have your supplies and your blueprint, you can begin to hammer on the blueprint. Couple things to note here. Hammering twice on the blueprint will reset the 3-minute automatic dismantle timer. Also, you do not have to be an engineer to hammer. Any role with a hammer can construct the node once the blueprint is placed, and the more players that help, the faster construction will go. Now our node is constructed. You'll notice it says +10 above our node, indicating the node is producing resources. This is also shown when we hover over it on the map. Additionally, you'll see we are gaining +40 per minute manpower instead of our base gain of +30. If all possible nodes are constructed, we will end up with a max of +60 per minute. One last thing to note here is that you cannot have two nodes of the same type within 50 meters of each other. If I'm too close to another node of the same type, I'll get a message reading too close to similar structure. Now the astute viewers may have noticed that our manpower and munitions nodes have these yellow circles around them, and our fuel node does not. These yellow circles surround our nodes at a distance of 50 meters. Coming within the yellow circle of the manpower node will subtract 2.5 minutes off of the 5-minute cooldown for the support role's deployable supply box, and coming within the munitions node circle will do the same for the ammo, explosives, and medical boxes that the various roles carry. You can learn more about the details about how those work by watching this playlist here at the top right. Fuel nodes do not have any extra abilities. So that's what nodes do. What don't they do? You cannot resupply ammo from them either as infantry or armor. They do not reduce spawn times or grant any extra loadout options. They do not give ammo boxes more ammo or the supply boxes more supplies. What about XP? This gets a little confusing. You get 40 XP for building a node if you are the engineer. You get 50 XP if you are a different role and you build it alone, while the engineer that placed the blueprint will still get their 40 XP even if they didn't hammer. If 2 players hammer the node, they will both receive the appropriate XP. Anytime a support player places a supply box within the manpower node's yellow circle, the engineer that placed that blueprint will receive 5 XP, and this includes if the supply box was used in building that node. Anytime an ammo box, explosives box, or medical supplies box is placed within the yellow circle of a munitions node, the engineer that placed that blueprint will receive 5 XP. These +5 XP gains I just pointed out do not have anything to do with the cooldown times. If you place those boxes outside of the yellow circle, the engineer will not receive 5 XP even if those boxes benefited from the cooldown bonus. The boxes must be placed in the appropriate circles for this to work. This next part is the big gainer. Whichever player the node belongs to will receive +10 of passive XP per minute per node. So a maximum of +30 per minute, and that XP is allocated to whatever role the player is currently playing. This means that if you build the nodes as an engineer, you can then switch roles to, say, the rifleman role, and the XP you gain from the nodes will go towards leveling up the rifleman role. Switch again to the medic role, and the XP will begin going towards your medic role. Building nodes is one of, if not the most effective way to help your team, while also helping progress your roles. I'll just add something here. You can switch teams and build a second set of nodes, and you will end up gaining XP from both sets. This means that you technically can bring your max XP gain from nodes up to +60 per minute. I will add that doing this is typically frowned upon in active community servers, so I recommend against it unless done during server seeding or on empty servers. Okay, now how do we destroy nodes? Any nodes inside territory that becomes captured will automatically be destroyed. Satchels will destroy enemy nodes. Bombing runs destroy nodes, as do Katyusha rocket strikes. Precision strikes destroy nodes. Enemy nodes can be manually dismantled by approaching them and holding the interact button for 1 minute. That's kind of a long time, however, the more players that are dismantling them at the same time, the faster it goes. Additionally, if you're dismantling a node and need to reposition quick for any reason, you have 5 seconds to resume dismantling before your progress is reset and you have to start over. You only get 5 XP for destroying an enemy node, and that XP is not shared. It's only awarded to the first player that started dismantling. Friendly players used to be able to dismantle friendly nodes by approaching them and holding the action button, but this was recently changed due to players trolling and XP stealing. So currently you are unable to dismantle friendly nodes even if you're the engineer that placed them. Nodes are not destroyed by grenades, artillery, anti-tank guns, anti-tank rifles, rockets, fire weapons, mines, strafing runs, or armor rounds of either type. And finally, here is what the different nodes look like for each different faction. Alright, this video is too long already, so I've made a separate one with tips and best practices on things like where to build nodes and stuff like that. So subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it, or become a channel member and watch it right now for only 99 cents a month, as members get early access to most new content. Did I miss anything? If so, make sure to let me know in the comments and I can add it to a pinned comment. Make sure to ask any questions you have about resources or nodes down in the comments. On screen now are some videos I encouraged you to watch earlier. Please like and share to help me beat that algorithm. Subscribe so you don't fall for the hell let loose myths. Hope you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.
Yep, there's some in here. I'll just give you the truck.